3 days ago, on June 20th, 2021, the Atlanta Hawks surprised much of the basketball world by advancing to the Eastern Conference Finals, leaving the much-favored Philadelphia 76ers in their wake. To many, it also marked the death of the process, though to me that actually ended the first time they made the playoffs, these Pro 76ers, back in 2018, as many called for the exit of the recently much-maligned Ben Simmons, even though he does deserve a lot of the criticism. I mean, how can you possibly defend a guy who's been a disappearing act at the fourth quarter of all 7 games? How can you possibly process, no pun intended, the fact that an NBA All-Star / All-NBA teamer passed up an open dunk that could have jolted you versus Milwaukee right now in the East Conference Finals? That being said, the disrespect has gotten so bad that you got these keyboard scouts calling Ben Simmons a scrub, or even getting him a plane ticket to China and a contract with the Guangdong Tigers. I know it's all just memes and social media isn't exactly a bastion of nuance, but some people really mean that, you know? Anyway, y'all know why you're here, so let's get to why people shouldn't write off Ben Simmons just yet. Alright everybody, how's it going? You're probably wondering why I'm wearing this Warriors jersey. If you guys watched my previous video, it's because I love KD. Let it be known right here, right now, that I'm a Celtics fan, and it's funny, you know, I'm a Celtics fan and I'm out here right now gonna defend Ben Simmons. So, crazy, or a terrible intro, but let's get into the nitty gritty. I guess I can start that with like how he plays, you know. The guy he was compared to when he was coming into the NBA was like, he's the next LeBron, or even the next Magic Johnson. I actually find comparing Ben to those two players as giving him too much respect, or giving him too much props, and maybe that has something to do with the mentality, which I'll get more in a bit, but you can kind of see it, you know, like he's a prototypical size for a point guard. He's 6'10", 240, can you believe that? Like, it's a freaking freight train. Much like LeBron, you know, like maybe I could see from that standpoint, I could see it. Or you could even imagine, like, let's see, Karl Malone, like that hard body dude who can get up and down the floor and can handle the ball. Crazy, right? He's not just an amazing passer, but he also has great court vision. Like he could see things as they play out almost. It reminds me a lot of when I saw Lonzo when he was in UCLA back when I was in college. Like he was giving me those vibes, but Ben Simmons takes it to the next level with his size. So yeah, he's an amazing passer, but he also has court vision, and you know, with those two things, you can be an amazing passer. You can be an amazing passer, but that does not equate to being a good playmaker. Ben Simmons is a good playmaker, and he's a good passer. Like, so that's where you can see like the Magic Johnson comparisons from that standpoint. And you know, he's a really complete player at that point. Like, the only thing really missing when he's coming to the NBA is a jump shot. That's going to lead to my next point, which is his mentality about it. He is a below average shooter, but it's not really much of a problem. Look at Giannis right now. He's attempting jump shots, and we can all tell that he's a bad shooter, but at least he's shooting them. Because that means that it's going to keep the defense honest, and it gives the defense more to think about. And that's the big problem with the Ben, you know. That automatically leads the defense to like, oh, we know he's not going to shoot, so let's just pack the area, or lock up on all the other shooters, or lock up the paint or something. So that's what bothers me with him. Barely attempting shots, even the ones he's comfortable with. He only took 3 shots in the fourth quarter. The entire series. That's just inexcusable. And you're talking about a guy who's the next LeBron. LeBron was a bad shooter in his early career, you know? So yeah, that's really the big problem with him. The addition with the mentality, you know, the work ethic has not been there. I was talking with one of my homies. We've had this conversation before about Ben Simmons, and like, you know, Ben Simmons isn't that good. The way he was talking about it is almost like he could beat him in a game or something. I don't know. But he said, you know, Ben Simmons is just not a good player. And I'm like, you're telling me that like 16, 9, and 8 is a bad player? That's not a scrub. Like, you know, eventually I understood that his problem with him is like, and a lot of the players he dislikes is that they never fulfill their potential. And, you know, with Ben, he's kind of right about him. And I came around eventually. The work ethic has not been there, and he's still the same player he was when he first came in. Like, he really doesn't have to work on a lot. He was injured his rookie year. Like, he could have He could at least like work on free throws for one, the very thing that he's bad at, and he could at least like work on restructuring like his jump shot, you know. But he never did that, as you can tell, because he's still bad at free throws and he's not comfortable with his jump shot. The other thing that I kind of researched was, you know, I'm not gonna question his sentiment about it, but he had said something in the documentary about the NCAA. Now I'm not gonna get fully into that because it almost like seems like I'm questioning his character, and I'm not. He's probably a good guy. I don't know him, but I'm not out here to I'm not out here to be a groupie for all these NBA players. And you know, if eventually I blow up and one of them hits me up and it says I like your videos, blah blah blah, cool. But I can only see what I see from afar. Yeah, with the NCAA quote with Ben, I guess the gist of the quote was, you know, NCAA is not paying us at all. Here's the thing, they talk about education and blah blah blah, and I only got a year, so I'm not gonna learn a lot. The thing that bothered me about it was like, it's not really about the time that you put in, but it's more the things you put in the time. It's about the things that you do in check-in time and check-out time, you know. The thing in between about is the most important thing, and it kind of gave me an insight as to how he thinks as far as like putting the time in, you know. So that's mostly it for the stuff that I guess is within his control. The first thing that I wrote up here is like, what if in college he was not coached hard enough? I don't think the program in LSU obviously hasn't been as good. And like around, they made like the Final Four around 15 years ago, right? 2006, I believe. And the program for the most part hasn't been the same. The coaching staff's obviously gone from that time, and maybe in Ben's time there in the single season that he had, maybe he was not coached hard enough or equipping him well to get ready for the NBA. So I don't know. I would have loved to see him commit to like maybe a Duke, Kentucky, Oregon, Gonzaga, like a program like that. Not necessarily a bigger name, but I know they will coach you hard. Duke's been that school, like, I mean, they got my guy Jason Tatum, you know. So yeah, that's like one thing, and I read up on this a little bit before doing this video. He did commit to LSU, I think his sophomore year in high school, I believe. He committed around 2013, and he went to LSU around 2016, so he committed pretty early. And he never really left his comfort zone. At every stop that he's been to, including the pros, there's always been somebody connected to his family or something. And you know, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but he probably could have fixed that in the NBA. And I'd also blame the process. It's the whole like idea of it, the approach of it. It's just, I never liked losing on purpose to begin with. This whole era of the process is just disrespectful to the whole city of Philadelphia and just the Sixers organization. Like, you fell a long way from like the grittiness and the toughness of like an AI. I mean, with the Allen Iverson era, there was like a culture that you can respect. The Nerds can go after me all they want, but I just can't. I don't give a damn about like the consolation prize. Like, I want to win every year. And this is what I hate about like the Super League coming in, blah blah blah. Like the way the NBA is structured now, it like breeds mediocrity. I don't want to see like the 2017 Warriors being the best team in one season and then like the 2012 Bobcats is the worst. Like, I just don't mess with that. The process, yeah, I could see like you hoarding high draft picks to get the greatest talent, but even that they messed up, you know? Did you want to build with Ben or did you want to build with Joel Embiid? And they really tried to half-ass like building around both of them, in my opinion. I guess how I can dissect this is like, what if we're building a team around Ben? So Ben needs like multiple scorers in order for him to stand out. There's going to need to be scorers ahead of him. And as for Embiid cannot be a guy who can create from like outside the three-point line, you know? He kind of reminds me of when we play 2K. And I'm going to call this guy Hakeem Duckworth because this is his player. And shout out to you, man. But the way he played was like, so we would get the ball to him at half court, and then he'll start posting up from there. Once he gets the ball, like he backs down, backs that ass up from there. Like, it's freaking hilarious, but it worked. And that's kind of how like Embiid's playing, and I don't think that's really ideal for him. And another thing like that they messed up during this process time, this could have mitigated a lot of the questions about can you build around Simmons and Embiid? Can Simmons and Embiid play together? I think they messed up not trying hard enough to sign Jimmy Butler. While I do feel like he had one foot out the door, he could have at least tried to bring him back in, you know? but letting him go was a mistake in my opinion. I mean, Tobias Harris is good, but he doesn't exactly blow you away, you know, and now they kind of put themselves in a hole where they're in a territory where you may have overpaid for him, although this season he kind of played a lot better, you know. I don't hate Tobias, I actually like his game and what he brings to the table. I just think for what the Sixers are trying to do, they could have gone after a player that's more big time than he was, and that's exactly what Jimmy Butler was. So yeah, that's pretty much like the first thing around team building. And as far as the draft goes, man, it's just sad. I guess is the word. You kind of noticed that what they were going after is like they drafted too much for the best available, in my opinion, instead of also drafting for need. Let's do a rundown of like their picks from, I guess, when the process started. So here's the draft from 2013 on, and this is before Ben Simmons. So 2013 they drafted Nerlens Noel. We all see how that turned out. 2014 they drafted Embiid. Cool. 2015 they drafted Jahlil Okafor. Cool. So that's like their draft prior to Ben Simmons. Here are the players that they missed out on in that time span. So 2013 they missed out on Giannis, and they missed out on Gobert, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because we obviously didn't know how he turned out at the time, and we all know what Embiid turned out to be, so they kind of mitigated that, but they did miss out on Giannis. 2014, other than Joel Embiid, they could have put Julius Randle around him, Zach LaVine with him. Bam, you got two good building blocks there, and the work ethic is there with both of them, as we can see now. The other guy that, I mean, everybody missed out on this guy, but they also missed out on Jokic. But again, he didn't necessarily fit what Philly was building to at the time, and no one really knew that Jokic was eventually going to be the first second round MVP, I believe. The lowest draft pick ever. The 2015 draft, the guy that they missed out on was Devin Booker. And imagine Joel Embiid, Devin Booker, and Ben Simmons now. Probably puts you above Brooklyn the way the team is structured now. So 2016, they drafted Ben Simmons. So here are the guys they missed out on from there to 2018, around that time. So 2016, they missed out on Pascal Siakam. He definitely would have fitted well with what the Sixers are doing right now. Malcolm Brogdon, they missed out on. That for sure would have made Philly much greater than they are now, and you wouldn't be complaining as much. The other guy was also DeJounte Murray, but I mean, I don't exactly know if he fits the mold that the Sixers are going for. And then 2017, obviously, Markelle Fultz could have worked, but they missed out on Jason Tatum. And thank goodness. But imagine if the Sixers either had Devin Booker and or Jason Tatum with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. So that's really the big miss. And obviously 2018, they traded Mikal Bridges, could have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, MPJ, Kevin Huerter, who just hurt him, no pun intended, and also Devontae Graham to, add some scoring. So these are really the big draft misses that they've had. So they definitely could have drafted more for need. A lot of these guys also filled out. Eventually, they were the best players in their draft. I look at like Devin Booker, obviously Giannis, Jason Tatum, and these players really. I guess what I'm trying to say is there could have been a way to make Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid work, but that was the management's fault in my opinion. It's not necessarily Ben Simmons and Embiid sacrificing for one another. So yeah. Let's start with Philly. At this point, it's nigh on impossible to repair their relationship. The relationship between Ben, Doc Rivers, and even Joel Embiid, and obviously the fans. After what they said in the press conference, Doc Rivers said, I don't know if Ben can be a championship point guard. Yeah, but he said after that, we're going to work with him on helping him get there. But what he said at the beginning is kind of I would have been a little slighted by that. And Joel Embiid eventually said also that the play that turned around the game was him passing up that dunk and trying to get Thibault the ball. And I don't know if he can repair the relationship between them. The trade would be the best. So that means it would be time to let go of Ben Simmons and put another proper scorer next to Embiid and possibly Tobias Harris. He might leave. Thinking off the top of my head, players who would be fit for them would be Chris Paul. They could trade for him. Steph to match out. I don't think the Warriors are letting go of him. Dame would fit. I don't know if Dame would want to leave Portland or even if the Blazers would even entertain that. The last guy would be a Kemba. This is probably the more realistic option, but I don't know yet. As for Ben, there's a lot of things he can do. For instance, screw working on your jump shot right now. Just work on your free throws. So he's shooting around 50% right now. If he gets that up to 65 or 70, you have LeBron right there. You have Giannis right there. I truly believe that if he just starts making his free throws, I think he can win MVP. Because just look at Giannis right now. Ben's already a good defender. Clearly, he's like a point guard, you know. He's got a better point guard mentality than Giannis. He can guard pretty much 1 through 5. And, you know, everybody says, like, why are you shooting no jump shots and blah, 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 blah. Why are you not shooting threes, corner threes, and blah, blah, blah. But, again, look at what Giannis is doing. A lot of Giannis' shots are shots that he's comfortable with. He doesn't force himself to take jump shots, although it's great to see him, like, you know, pull up every once in a while. Even if he shoots, like, floaters and just bangs in the paint, you know, for Ben, I'd say he'd be good. Damn, cut my vibe. But yeah, like I was saying, like, if he just shoots, like, shots he's comfortable with, I think that's going to build his confidence. And, you know, with confidence comes, like, you're eventually going to start shooting jump shots. So yeah, the next thing with him is, like, whatever is going on in his head, or whatever is distracting him from being an even better basketball player than he is now, I think he just needs to sort that out. And I was having this conversation with a homie on text. He said, I think Ben's just dealing with something mentally, and something must have happened off the court that's distracting him from becoming a better player. And if he just sorts that out, cool. I think that's where it starts for him, kind of. So yeah, like I said, the best fit for Ben would be team up with good scorers. 2 great scorers would be amazing, or even a team that opens up the floor so he can just operate and get in the paint. I actually listed teams here, like I actually wrote this down. If you're gonna send him to like a contender, these teams would be, the first one would be Boston. I mean, I don't want to be biased or anything, but if Ben goes there and you pair him up with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, I think we do damage in the East. Utah, it might be a wrap, to be honest. Phoenix would be good. Him, D-Book, and Ayton would be good. Golden State, if you had Draymond and Ben trade spots, how do you think the Warriors would do? His play style fits what they do. So the last team as far as contenders would be concerned is the Denver Nuggets. I think it would be a win for Philly to trade for Michael Porter Jr. And Denver already has a lot of good scorers, starting with Jokic and Jamal Murray. You might have to give up Jamal Murray's salary in order to match Ben's, so I don't know how that's gonna work, but I think he'd fit Denver. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong with that. So if he joins these teams, he'd probably be able to help them get to the conference finals or even the NBA finals. But I don't know, you tell me. If you go another route, team that would work would probably be like Oklahoma City, which I think probably be the more realistic destination for him, I'd say. Kemba kind of matches his salary. That gives Ben his own team to prove what he's like as the head honcho, I guess. Houston with John Ball, a John Ball swap with him might be good for both. Other situations that kind of fit, I guess, his playing style, it may help them get to the playoffs, is like a Minnesota. Minnesota has, you'd have to give up D'Lo for Ben, and now you pair up Ben with Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns. That might work. Again, what I could see happening is probably he ends up in Oklahoma City. Philadelphia ends up with Kemba, and he runs his own team with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and you possibly have a chance to build around both Shai and Ben. So yeah, I guess that's what I can see happening, but don't take my word for it. A lot of the criticism that Ben is getting, he deserves it. I'm not going to defend him for a lot of the things that have happened over the series against Atlanta, but some of y'all are just downright disrespectful. And if he does make all NBA team again, or if he does improve, like he does like 26 and 15 or something a game, don't be acting like, oh, I always loved Ben, I never really hated him, it was all jokes. Nah, and you're talking as if you're an NBA player. I hope your apology is as loud as the disrespect, and if I'm wrong about this, then I mean, I don't really give a fuck. That's gonna do it for this discussion on Ben Simmons. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.